Well, hello there, and welcome back to the sideboard here at Star City Games Orlando. My name is Ruben Bressner, and I'm joined by Star City Games Select columnist and Select newsletter columnist,
both,
Mark Nestico. Mark, how are you doing today?
I am fantastic, actually.
We're finally in your neck of the woods down here in Orlando. You're not from Orlando.
Nope, I'm from Fort Myers, so a couple hours away.
We're in Florida, though.
Yeah, a little bit.
We don't make it down Florida way too often, but
maybe that'll change.
Yeah, we've decided to come to. It's supposed to be the sunshine state, but it isn't really today.
Not today. I'm pretty sure you guys brought the bad weather with you.
It's possible,
but usually.
But what you've brought with you is an interesting deck that you've been is blue, white, red control.
Yes.
But that you've been affectionately calling blue, white, red Calcano.
It is. Christian came up with a deck. He played it in Vegas. I got 9th in Vegas playing blue, white, and he got top 32 playing blue, white, red. And this deck, I think, is in a much better place now than it was then, strictly because of all the green, red, and green, white decks running around. You get access to a lot of really cool cards. So.
Cool. Yeah, and some of the red cards, I'm going to briefly go over the red cards because most of our audience, I'm sure, is familiar with blue-white control by this point. Elspeth, Elixir of Immortality still in the deck?
All those good things. I have it in the board, actually, yes.
Okay. And, the generic counterspells, Jace.
Yeah.
Detention Sphere, Sphinx of Revelation.
The boring stuff.
Right. But instead of things like Last Breath.
Yep.
And a couple of the other, what are considered to be the weaker parts of blue-red.
We get
blue-white. You get a little spicy.
We get spicy.
The one that stuck out most to me is Steam Augury.
Yeah!
So Steam Augury is a card that a lot of Izzet mages were wanting in the Ravnica block.
Absolutely.
I know David McDarby is a huge fan of Steam Augury.
Humongous fan.
And so why have you decided to run Steam Augury in this deck?
Well, one of the big things about this card is I watched Christian play it against me when I was playing blue-white, and we were playing in the last round. And this card just did everything that I would want to do playing blue-white. So it basically gives you the choice. You split the piles. If you have the cards in your hand, you can, of course, give it a pile like, you don't really want me to have this, so I'll give, these 3 or 4 cards over here. And they're like, well, I don't want them having Supreme Verdict, so you take the 4 cards. Little did you know,
that you already
had the Supreme Verdict, and you draw 4 cards off of it.
Sure.
And sometimes they get really difficult piles. Sometimes you'll have an Aetherling and an Elspeth, and you just separate them. You're going to get a win condition, and you're going to get a little bit of baggage along with it. It's really, really nice in the mid-rangey decks. It recoups a lot of card advantage against mono black, too. So, very important.
Yeah, around turn 4, turn 5 isn't exactly where you want to be casting Sphinx's Revelation.
Exactly.
A lot of the card draw options like Azorius Charm aren't ideal on those turns either, but you want to have a 4-mana. It's not really fact or fiction, of course. Nothing can replace fact or fiction, but it's close enough.
Hey, if it's even in the same realm or the same conversation as fact or fiction, you should, of course, be considered.
Right, of course. And so another reason to add red is for the kill spells.
That is a humongous part of why we're adding red to this deck.
Blue-white sort of had a little bit of a weakness to...
Big weakness.
Really aggressive things like Boss Slide.
Yes, you have to play cards like 4 Last Breaths in your main, and that is good in some matches, but in other matchups, it's just atrocious. So we like to have things that they basically double duty. So we added some really important burn spells. Mizzing Mortars, of course, it's great against all of these weenie decks that are popping up. Even if it's just like a kill your guy, sometimes you get the bonus of having Wrath number 5 through 6, you overload it, crush their whole board. So it adds a really nice dimension that Last Breath kind of can't deal with. But we still needed something to deal with Mutavault.
Right.
Mutavault is a very, very annoying card. That's why we play the full boat of Izzet Charm, which does so much in this deck, so much more than Azorius Charm could possibly do. Not only does it deal 2 damage to a creature, so that's going to kill their Mutavault, get it off the table. It also counters spells. So on the play against decks like Red-Green, when they try to play their Domri on turn 2, you just counter it. So now they're set back, you're in a really, really, really good place, and it just does other things too. If you have lands, you cycle it. You just draw 2, discard 2, and it can get you out of a jam as well. So that is important. And the last one is my favorite, and that's Turn Burn, a card that I loved last format. This card deals with Xanth of Necromancer, which is a big deal. That card is very annoying when you're playing a Spring Verdict deck, so you can just turn it and burn it, or you can just turn it, block with one of your tokens from Assemble the Legion, which is a great win condition. So basically, you get a whole package of cards that add an extra dimension that blue-white just didn't have. That's not saying blue-white's a bad deck. It just might not be the best choice in a field full of green-red and green-white decks.
Absolutely. It's the other thing that Turn Burn can do is there's a whole cycle of indestructible creatures in the format right now, and makes them an 0-1 until on turn, so you can Supreme Verdict a Perforos or a Thassa.
And that is
in a
huge.
pinch.
And that's an excellent point that you made as well. In testing, Thassa, of course, very annoying for blue-white decks. You've got to burn usually one of your detention spheres on it. Now you can use this and maybe get a block off of one of your tokens and kill just a random creature, and kills Erebos.
Yes.
Very big deal that it kills Erebos. That card's very annoying. You know?
Yeah, so it's able to turn any of the gods into weirds.
Into
which
weirds,
is nice.
and then we shoot them in the face.
Right. Huh, that's weird.
Click, click, boom.
So moving to the sideboard, we have a couple of red cards. The first red card that I'm going to talk about, and it is a red card, is Chain to the Rocks.
Yes.
Because you need to enchant your own mountain.
Exactly.
Chain to the Rocks, a 1-mana kill spell, basically for... Also very good against gods.
Deals with tons of things. Gods, Soldier of the Pantheon, if they have Voice of Resurgence. You basically just want to bring it in against anything mid-rangey, creature-oriented. Good against Mono Black because you can hit their Pack Rat. There's tons of different things that this card, it just really, really excels in this deck.
Absolutely. Another one you have is Wear and Tear, which is a card we've seen a lot of. Mostly in there to take care of things like Detention Sphere. You're also able to take care of a Whip of Erebos and an Underworld Connections at the same time.
Biden of Thassa, a Needle, they don't ever bring in Domestication, but I mean, it hits pretty much anything that your deck doesn't want them to have in play. Biden is a really, really big one, especially. And then, just hits Needle. Say they name Needle on your Jace or your Elspeth, well, right, thanks for playing.
And Counterflux. Now, Counterflux was the main reason to start running red in the blue-white control deck. Right after Huey Jensen had that couple really insane finishes with blue-white, people started adding the red just as a trump to be able to counter basically only Elixir of Immortality.
Which is good enough on its own.
Right. It's now relegated to the sideboard, whereas it used to be in the main deck. Is that just because of a shift in the metagame? Yeah,
there's a lot more creature-oriented things that you want to deal with, and unfortunately Counterflux is a little bit slow. It doesn't really have the upside that a Dissolve has, where you can scry, see a Wrath, hey, we're going to keep that. Right. But Counterflux does what it needs to do in the matchups that you need it the most. So, yeah, you're going to play a long game one against Blue-White or Esper, but your sideboarding plan, where you get to stick things like, Assemble the Legion, or your own Jace, or Memory Adept, things like that, Counterflux just makes sure that spell stays on the board and they have no way to deal with it.
Sure. The only non-red card I really want to talk about in your sideboard is Divine Verdict.
Divine Verdict,
which I thought it would have a different sleeve because I thought that this was from one of your Theros draft decks.
I know. Well, listen, Christian's gonna hate me for adding this in there, but the card that I was having the most trouble with in testing is Obsidat. And the Esper human deck and the black-white mid-range deck, they play Obsidat. That card's really, really hard to beat. So Divine Verdict is sort of like the hedge. If you can't counter it, you just kill it. And I did something really cool last round. The guy attacked me with a Soldier of the Pantheon, went to Titan Strength it, and I was like, Divine Verdict. So it's a 2-for-1 in that regard, but it hits the things that you need to kill. And Obsidat is definitely the big one that you need to kill.
Sure.
So
it's just another copy of Turn and Burn.
Basically,
you have more options to be able to kill.
A little bit cheaper, and I mean, it's one of those cards like, who's going to play around that, really? Like, if I have 4 lands open, okay, well, you can't turn burn my guy, well, Wrath isn't an instant, well, I guess I'll attack. Okay, Divine Verdict.
If they've already seen the turn and burn and you only have 4 mana up, they're going to be like, Sylvan Primordial or whatever, getting into the red zone, enormous creature with Gorkland Rampager.
Go home.
Give it the Verdict.
And that's one of the things. It hits Mistcutter Hydra, it hits Pelucranos, it hits Skylasher, it hits the things that turn burn can't. Well, I mean, you can obviously burn a Skylasher, but some of the other things that are a little bit too big, you just Divine Verdict it. And it sounds hokey, and I'm really just trying it out today, but I mean, so far in that matchup, it was actually very, very good. I played against the Boros aggro deck.
Absolutely.
And it was certainly an all-star in that matchup. So
I know that the old blue-white-red flash decks, for a little while, were running Rebuke in the sideboard to be able to deal with Thundermaw Hellkites.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, the Thundermaw Hellkite in the current format has Pro-White, but you're able to take care of a lot of other things.
Yeah, we've got Mortars, our turn burn. We've got plenty of ways to deal with that dragon. But Divine Verdict is for everything else that falls under the sun that says Pro-Blue. So.
Well, you're 1-1 right now. Are you happy with the build? Is there anything that you've changed?
Yeah, I'm actually very happy. The round that I lost was round 1. I just, magic happens. You don't draw lands, and I died. And then round 2, I just, put the hammer down on Boros, and that's kind of what you want to do all day. You just want to play against these grindy mid-range decks, and you just want to punch them in the face with Sphinx.
Well, to conclude our interview, you wanted to be sure that everyone knew that your Pichus were your Assemble the Legion tokens and Elspeth tokens.
Well represented, my boy Pichu.
Dan Musser, who's a Midwest grinder, has a lot of Pikachus.
I respect the Pikachu.
But you're more on the baby Pokemon.
I am on the baby strictly because foil, so cute, and also just look at his little face. I mean, you guys.
All right, Well, Mark, thank you for joining me in the sideboard.
Absolute
Tell the folks at home where they can read you.
Well, I'm available every week on the Select side of StarCityGames.com. I'm also available in the new Select side newsletter that we offer, along with several other outstanding authors, and it's absolutely awesome. Doing so many great things on the free, keyword free, newsletter. Lots of really, really great content, and it's a really great precursor to get people more involved, hopefully, in the Select and the premium side. Because tons of awesome articles that are offered in that as well, especially guys like BBD, all those guys. It's fantastic.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a little bit of a gateway into the premium stuff. And I really appreciate all the content that you put forth, not only on the website, but also for the newsletter.
Hey, my pleasure.
And good luck this year on the Star City Games Players Championship circuit.
Taking it hard this year.
Yeah.
Got a 9th place in Vegas, and doing okay today.
Cool.
And going to hopefully keep that momentum going forward.
Excellent, Mark. Thank you for joining me in the sideboard.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Stay tuned to SCG Live. We'll be back here from Orlando.